I hope that you could hear that bell. It was very, very faint. And I hope that you'll consider turning on your video for a minute, just so that we can see each other, which is so rare these days. See the Sangha, 37 of us tonight. So good to see everybody. Yeah, that's so nice. Hi. I'm Thia Powers, and you're here tonight with Insight Meditation Community of Charlotte. So normally we'd be hugging and shaking hands and walking around the room and stretching. So if you need to move a little bit, you're welcome to do that to get comfortable. So welcome, everybody. So glad to see the faces. It just makes such a big difference. Thanks for turning on your videos. So recently, how's the volume, by the way? Is it good? Fine? Okay, thanks. Recently, I had dinner out with a friend about a week ago, and these days that seems kind of like a big deal, you know? Are people going to be really close to me and breathing on me? And so, but it was nice. It was so nice. We lingered outside. We had engaging conversation. We commiserated. We laughed. We enjoyed this exquisite fall weather that we have in the Carolinas. And we were outside at dusk on a patio, and those little twinkly lights were up, and it was just magical. The day had been a long one for both of us, and we were both tired. But when we left, I felt uplifted and energized and hopeful about the situations that we had talked about. And I hope that she felt that way too. Tonight, I want to look at what a blessing it is to be able to process life with a mindful friend, to know that we're speaking with intention and from our hearts, with each other's best interest in mind, and especially with this group, with shared values for the greater good. Anais Nin writes, each friend represents a world possibly not born in us until they arrive. And I love that, the way friends can bring us alive, plant new seeds. Generally speaking, in today's world, I feel like social media has these extremes that we're either overly encouraged to be happy and like, click, or we're encouraged to go the opposite extreme and criticize or cancel or type unhelpful, unthought out responses and hit send before we even think about it. So much nuance is lost with this approach. But with an observant friend or an acquaintance, there's delicious room for pondering and for subtlety and for trust building. With a close friend, I don't have to avoid the inevitable not so happy parts of life that sometimes online we only see the good stuff, and it's like nobody ever has any problems, right? Instead of brushing these unhappy parts of life, instead of brushing them off or even making fun of them, I'm free to share them with a friend and to be open to considerate feedback. Often when I practice my metta meditation, I choose the phrase, may I, you, they know the causes of true happiness. And I know that these causes are related to acceptance, not to clinging or pushing away all the stuff that happens in a regular life. This lasting happiness or deep contentment is so different from common temporary happiness, which is almost always related directly to a fleeting outside circumstance. The Noble Eightfold Path teachings instruct us to work with our muddy and our unwholesome thoughts and our not so happy feelings, to bear witness diligently to what's arising moment to moment. This is what so many of the suttas say. The Baddha Karata Sutta that I brought recently says to not hide from unwanted emotions, but here's the crux, is also to not wallow in them. So that's a fine line. How do I allow them and even investigate them without letting them just saturate my being? When I allow an unwholesome emotion, such as envy, to be examined, it usually begins to wither all on its own as the insubstantial nature of thoughts becomes more and more apparent to me. I can literally watch things rising up and falling away in my thought patterns. When I'm able to acknowledge and say to frustration or anger, yep, you too are a part of the picture, sometimes I'm able to arrive at what my husband John calls optimistic engagement. He said that the other day, and I jumped on that term. I really like it. I hope that if I don't arrive at optimistic engagement, perhaps I'm still building the capacity to sit with things, just be with things, and to understand whatever the flavor is of dukkha for that day. Processing the fleeting moments of life this way with a person who is also studying the Dharma is a benefit that it can't be overemphasized or appreciated enough. And I think I especially feel this since we are completely online, almost completely online right now. I miss these face-to-face conversations that we have in passing when we gather. And I'm so looking forward to that, hopefully at the beginning of the year. With this in mind, we can loosen up on the idea that we always need to be happy. It's simply not true that we always need to be happy. And the paradox is that when we release this idea, it makes room for deep contentment that seems to just be waiting to quietly rise to the surface. Contemplation or meditation with or without others gives us the permission to approach a plethora of emotion, a broad bandwidth, with the curious compassion of an engaged mind. And I think this is a really important part of why we do this. Loving kindness is what is born from this. We learn non-judgment by practicing on ourselves, compassion with ourselves, compassion of the mind that is not clinging or judging, that's open and wide and kind. When I take this from my sitting practice into my daily walkabout life practice, I can naturally be more kind with people because I'm practicing being more kind to me. Another thing that's important to note is that this kind of compassion, whether attending to yourself or to another, is quite distinct from pity. Pity, in fact, is referred to as the near enemy of compassion. It's an interesting term. The near enemy of compassion is not compassion, but is easily mistaken for such. Pity has that sort of above and looking down sort of energy that no one enjoys being the recipient of. Pity lacks an engaged heart and skillful action. And pity does not move situations forward in a wise way. Compassion, on the other hand, is an engaged heart coupled with skillful action and has a sense of solidarity about it, of boots on the ground, walking together side by side equally. Compassion does ask that we eventually release the insistence that things be different than they are. True compassion asks that we simply dwell on the fact that at this time it's difficult, it's uncomfortable, it's kind of intense. Compassion instructs us that until we understand suffering on a deep level, it will remain a disruptive and insistent part of our human existence. This is why it's titled Noble Suffering, is because we can understand it and transform it. With kind and diligent attention and the skillful view of the Eightfold Path teachings, suffering can turn to softening. And yet there is a paradox here. I view this training kind of like the way a warrior trains. After all, we're signing up to meet difficulty head on, right? We're signing up for that with this practice. And to me, it feels like a well-trained martial artist who's able to take the blows and skillfully deflect the harming energy. So all that said, we need friends. We need a tribe. We're mammals and we seek companions. We do best usually with partners and with some sense of belonging. Of course, if we take our problems to the same person again and again, it may be time to find a therapist, someone that we can pay to help us with some of these particularly entrenched behaviors that we're having a hard time letting go of. When bringing problems to a friend, I like to treat it like fertilizer. I try to spread it out a little bit. Don't dump too much too often in the same place, because like fertilizer or compost, too much is simply not beneficial for a relationship or for a plant. In the plant community, we see similar dynamics that we see with ourselves. Look at how the redwood trees produce babies that come up from their roots. They rise up and the family stands in a towering circle. I don't know if you've ever witnessed this, but the roots are intertwined and you can go and stand in the middle of these redwood circles. They're magical. They help one another to ground, to not be blown down when the winds rise and the storms come. And in the same way, they suffer and perish if their friends are cut down and only one or two are left standing. In these ways, trees are like humans. We need each other to be strong. We do well with each other's help. And we fail to thrive when we're denied these aspects of relationship. Relationships create mammalian connections that give us our sense of belonging and provide the experience of kindness and of love. I invite you to close your eyes now and bring a face or some faces to mind with people and animals that you have a good and strong connection with. See them smiling at you and feel the smile in your heart and the chord that this strikes in your body. Maybe an expansion, softening, a fullness. This is food for the heart. And open your eyes. Like a wise monk balancing engagement and solitude, we work through some things most effectively on our own. In solitude, that is. In my experience, the 10-day Vipassana retreats were invaluable when I was putting my life back together after a series of missteps and big losses. Retreats are really the only tool that I have found for deep introspection, just to make that time, for insights to have the time to surface, and for healing the wounds that we sometimes don't even know are there because we've buried them so effectively. If we're not doing our inner work in this way, we have likely become work for others. The teacher Adyashanti says, "My secret is silence." And he wrote a whole book about this. In the numbered discourses of the Buddha, there's a Pali text that tells a story of an eager young monk named Maggia who aspired to practice alone in an especially beautiful mango grove. On this day, though, he was the only attendant of the Buddha. Can you imagine that? Just you and the Buddha hanging out. He kept asking the Buddha 3 different times to go to the mango grove to meditate. It was so beautiful. And the Buddha kept answering him, saying, "No, wait until another bhikkhu comes. There's more bhikkhus coming, more monks are coming." And the young monk said, "But you're already enlightened. I need to strive. I need to meditate more." So finally, after the 3rd time, the Buddha just said, "Go." So he scurries off into this magical mango grove and sits down to meditate. But his meditation was not beautiful or peaceful. He found his mind to be a snarl of malicious and lustful and confused thoughts. When he rushed back to report the experience, the Buddha was not surprised. He took the opportunity to give Maggia what he hoped was a relevant teaching. The Buddha said, when liberation of mind has not yet matured, 5 things lead to its maturation. 5 things induce release of heart and lasting peace. And the first thing on the list is wholesome intimacy with good friends. The first thing on the list, good comrades, good companions. The second is virtuous conduct with these same companions. The third is frequent conversations with these friends. Conversations that inspire and encourage us. 4th is your own diligence, energy, and enthusiasm for the good. And 5th, we need an insight into impermanence, how fleeting all of this is. It's reported that the Buddha said more than one time that spiritual friendship is the first and most important element in developing on the spiritual path. Everything else just naturally flows from the choices that we make here. So silence and solitude are crucial. We need and we have to be a trusted friend, someone to feel at ease with, a friend that others can share sadness or confusion or anger with, someone who's willing to listen and to hold that vulnerability and shortcomings with tenderness. May we all have friends and be friends like this. There's a saying I've always liked, "A rising tide floats all boats." Now, this saying initially was used by John F. Kennedy, and he was talking about the economy. But I use it tonight to indicate that we rise by lifting others, that we all float on this goodwill that is generated by this group right here and these relationships right here. In closing, I'd like to give you the Buddha's list of 7 qualities for friendship. For us regular non-renunciate persons, a friend has these 7 qualities. They give what is hard to give. And I think this might mean an honest reflection of traits or circumstances that we might be blind to. The second is they do what is difficult to do. That seems like it could be listening, checking in, taking care of each other. The third is they forgive your unskillful and harsh words. The fourth is they endure what is hard to endure. Perhaps that's watching us make the same mistake over and over and over. The fifth is they trust you enough to tell you their secrets, and they safely preserve your secrets. The sixth is they do not forsake you in difficulty. And the seventh, they are not roughly spiteful or hurtful towards you. We don't need those kinds of friends. The Buddha says the person in whom these qualities are found is to be treasured as a true friend. To wrap us up, all people cannot be great philanthropists or poets, but all men can join in the gigantic and godlike work, which is the progress of creation. Whoever improves their own nature improves the universe of which they're a part. That was written by Reed Winwood. However, the touchstone of friendship is not improvement of self or others. The improvement naturally occurs when we undertake the path to the end of suffering. The touchstone of friendship is witnessing each other with kindness. It's true that relationships are the fabric of our lives. And when we're weaving these threads with these faces that you see on the screen and other important relationships, with care and intention, we reap the simple but deep joys of belonging and the peace of mind that we're being held with kindness and with good intentions. So I'd like for you to listen to this poem as we close tonight. I want to unfold. I don't want to stay folded anywhere, because where I am folded, there I am a lie. And I want my grasp of things true before you. I want to describe myself like a painting that I looked at closely for a long time, like a saying that I finally understand, like the picture I pour from every day, like the face of my mother, like a ship that took me safely through the wildest storm of all. And that's a Rilke poem. Thank you for your hearts and your ears and your faces tonight. So good to be here with you. And I see the chat is empty. And if something comes up that you would like to add to this topic of friendship, you're welcome to do that. On the topic of friendship, I have some sad news to share with you tonight. It's with great sadness that we announce the passing of Ardith Allen, a beloved and long-term member of our Sangha, on the morning of September 26th, 2021. Ardith was a generous friend to many and served the Sangha as a coordinator, a greeter, regularly participated in the book discussion groups and IMCC retreats. She was a founding member of our very first Kalyana Mita group, the Spiritual Friends groups, which began in 2014, where she graciously took notes for those who were absent, as well as offering meetings in her home. In alignment with Ardith's wishes, no memorial is planned. However, Ardith requested that any donations in her memory be made to deathwithdignity.org. This is a cause that she strongly supported and believed in. There's more about Ardith in the October newsletter if you would like. And that link is in the newsletter too. We have a series of 4 classes beginning to ground your practice on October the 5th. And that is Larry DeWalt leading us in a basics series. We have an ongoing book discussion group. Contact Joy Libeth if you have interest in this. We have a series coming up October 20th through November the 10th to explore the 7 factors of awakening. Same time on Wednesday nights. And November 6th, we have a day-long retreat. The theme is the River of Life. Impermanence, Dying, and the Other Shore. Registration is open for this and is filling. November 13th, we have a rare in-person offering. Clyde will be leading Introduction to Insight Meditation, and you can register for this online. That's in person on November 13th at Park Road Baptist Church. Ongoing, we have our Tuesday noon meetings, our practice discussion sessions on the first Wednesdays, and the instruction sessions on the last Wednesdays, where we had two delightful newcomers tonight. Our Sangha welcomes Donna, and there's many ways you can support these teachings: volunteering, classes, pop-ups, which we hope to be adding a pop-up soon, and even helping to manage the financial aspects of a nonprofit. So please join us any way that you can support the Sangha. So tonight I would like to close us out. Let me check and see if we have any. We have so many comments about missing Ardith. I encourage you to look at your chat. Ardith will be missed. Thank you for your comments there. Please close your eyes now. Take a deep breath. Begin by wishing yourself well. May I be free from suffering. May I find connection and peace. May I be safe from inner and outer harm. Turn this outward to someone or a group that you care about. May you be free from suffering. May you find connection and peace. May you be safe from inner and outer harm. Please broaden your circle now and include those that you have difficulty with. May you be free from suffering. May you find connection and have peace. And may you be safe from inner and outer harm. Open your circle wide. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings find connection and experience peace. May all beings be safe from inner and outer harm.